Chapter 2 is about starting points, and in it we open with a story about a patient going in to see a doctor. And that patient goes in, and as they arrive in the doctor's surgery, the doctor hands them a bottle of medicine and says, "There you go." Now, if any of us went into a doctor's surgery and have that experience, we'd doubt the competence of the doctor. But sometimes in the business of school, some teachers apply the same principle to their classes. This chapter is about knowing your starting points, not guessing or assuming them. And the aim of pre-assessment, as we call it, is knowing where your students are starting from, and therefore then you can plan out the learning journey for them. If you assume, then the danger is some of your students might not have the knowledge that you think they have, and others might have gone away and done reading around the subject and might be far in advance of their real starting point. The selling point of this chapter is all about this. It's about looking beyond the data and actually getting some feedback from your students about what they know already. Now, if I'm selling you this idea as we are in the chapter of this book, we say that it saves you time. Teachers who are in the habit of pre-assessing find out what students know. And our line in the book is all about, you don't have to teach the whole syllabus, you simply got to teach the bits on the syllabus that your students don't yet know. And if your learners have already got competence in an area, well, you can cross that out. And the benefit to you as a teacher will be, you've got more time to focus on the areas they're struggling with, the areas they've got misconceptions on, and the areas that you know year in, year out, those students struggle with, or those students struggle to master later on in the course. Knowing the starting points of learners also provides us with a unique insight into A, what they know already, but B, their misconceptions. And if as a teacher you know your learners' misconceptions, you're able to build that into your teaching to unpick those misconceptions when you model, when you explain that new content. And finally, as we say to teachers all the time, if you don't pre-assess your learners and they get 100% on that end of unit test, how do you actually know how good you are as a teacher? Unless you've given that similar test to the students at the start of the module, they might have got 99% at the start of the module before you taught it. So pre-assessment's all around finding out what students know, finding out what they don't know, and adapting your planning, adapting your teaching to close that gap. This notion of knowing your starting points applies not just to a topic, but it also applies to the school year as a whole. So when teachers get a new class in front of them, you might have a new group of year 3s or year 8s sitting in front of you on the 1st of September. Where do we start teaching them? Have they got the attitudes, skills and habits that you're going to need from them to help them make great progress through the year? The most effective teachers we work with build into their induction programs the opportunity to get feedback upon those students' starting points. Now, how can we do that? Well, a number of different ways. First of all, get a copy of those children's exercise books from the previous year. Looking at a child's exercise book tells you a lot about them. It tells you a lot about their habits. Are they in the habit of acting on the feedback their teacher gives them? Because if they're not, and you don't train them from the 1st of September, they're going to be ignoring your feedback this year. Secondly, you can look at the quality of work, how much work they do, whether they take pride over it. Essentially, by looking through a child's book, you can tell a lot about it, identify the gaps those children have got, and then you can build it into your induction to build those attitudes, skills and habits. The final example is one that you can see now, is an example of a teacher, a guy called Frank Law, who has a driving licence that he gives each of his sixth form students when they start in sixth form. He uses it to help his class teachers teaching those students at A-level to find out what their gaps are. Do they contribute to classroom discussion? Do they arrive on time? Are they effective in their presentation? And what Frank will do is collect those driving licences in towards the end of September and put in place training for those students who've got individual gaps. The advantage of pre-assessment is this: it helps you to know where your students' starting point, your learner's starting point, and help you to then define the next stage in this process, which we cover in our next chapter, which is about defining and demystifying the destination. Now, unless we know the starting points of our learners, we might define a destination that's far too challenging for them, or a destination they've already overtaken already. So pre-assessment's key to this.